Productivity tools on their own can be incredibly powerful, but if you bring them together and connect them up, they can be even more powerful. So today I'm going to show you how you can turn Claude into your control panel, connecting up Google Calendar, Todoist, Notion, and so much more. And in today's video, I'm going to show you 3 worked examples of how I've been doing it in the background to save me a lot of time. Today's video is kindly brought to you by Granola. It's my go-to meeting tool. Check it out in the link in the description. Well worth it. There's 3 months free down there too, so check that link there. So I've been playing a lot with MCPs. If you don't know what that is, it stands for Model Context Protocol, and it's basically a bridge between one app and another. There are loads of MCPs out there, and they can allow you to connect to apps like Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini, and many, many more. Now, the reason I love these type of little connectors is they work sort of like a little bit of a bridge. So, for example, if I want to connect up Todoist and Claude, and I want to ask Claude to add something to my inbox, it can easily be done. But that's really touching the surface. That example there is very, very, very basic. But there's so many more ways that you can use this, and that starts me off with my first example. So before the summer holidays, I was planning with my wife who's going to take our little boy during the summer holidays and which days were available. We fed that information to Claude, and then what we did is we obviously had Google Calendar and Todoist as a connector. Now, this was incredibly powerful because once we had got a solid plan mocked up, I could then ask it something like, put these all in my Google Calendar, inviting my wife to the certain events that were her days and adding myself obviously to those days so that I could block myself as busy in my calendar. So after planning all of that, I was able to do that with Google Calendar, but there was one step further that made it even more powerful. Now, for myself, I tend to use Todoist as a personal planner. So what I was able to do is ask the Todoist to extract tasks for me. So for example, I said, help me prepare the bag for the day before and put it in my Todoist for the night before. Every day I've got him. And thanks to the MCP, I could basically run this. So for our first worked example, I'm going to show you how this could be helpful in the context of a holiday. So here we have our Claude open. We've got the MCP for Google Calendar and Todoist connected. I'll include a link if you want to show how to do that. It's quite simple. But basically here, I'm going to go ahead and ask something simple like create a planned day trip outline that is to, I don't know, London. And then I can say something like, let's block those days in my Google Calendar and invite this person. Plus, I would like you to add in the relevant tasks that you see fit to planning this trip within my Todoist for the advance notice, e.g., packing bag and everything around it. Now, this works even better if you've got context. So for example, if you and your partner or whoever, a friend, have got a little bit of an outline of your trip already, then you can connect Google Calendar and Todoist and be able to do that so it helps to plan that for you. Another good example of how this type of thing can be really helpful is there was a solar eclipse coming soon, and I basically copied and pasted the news article on it, fed it into Claude and said, get my Google Calendar and Todoist ready for this event. And it basically plotted everything out really well in terms of timeline, what I needed to get in terms of items, and I needed to order the glasses or else I wouldn't be able to see it. So you can get a better perspective how you can use these two in tandem. So my second example is around food log and daily planning. So one of the things I do is open up Claude every morning and tell it what I had for breakfast. It then feeds that information into my Notion account, adding it to my food log, but also allowing me to log it in my journal too. Now, I could just go into Notion and do this for me. However, there are some nuances to this that help. For example, I use my Notion mainly for like work and journal and food log, but I actually add my reminders in Todoist. So when I opened it and I started talking, I would say something at the end like, we're just out of, I don't know, sweet potato or yogurt. Can you make sure I add that to my Todoist to reorder? And it will automatically do that for you because it's connected not only to Notion, but to Todoist as well. My final worked example is another one that's incredibly helpful. So I will go to Claude and ask it something like, pull my meeting with Bob in Granola, and I'll get it to take the meeting notes. And then I'll say, extract any of the recommended reading insights or any of the recommended purchases and put them inside of my Todoist account so that I'm getting started with all of that and I'm sort of more aware that it's there in my inbox. This one's a really good one because what it does, if you've had like 5 meetings, it can do all of that for you and bring in some really helpful insights. You can then also do things like, for example, if it's a meeting with a sponsor, I like to try and keep those notes within my Notion too, so the context is not lost. But I also like to use Granola as my meeting recorder. So in this case, I could say for Granola to add that to the relevant sponsor within Notion, and that MCP will help me bridge those gap between those two applications. So you're probably wondering at home, how can I use this in my everyday routine? And I've got a few prompts and examples which could be incredibly helpful. So here's one that's really good. If you're struggling to find time on your calendar, you could ask Claude, once connected to Google Calendar, something like, find me 3 90-minute blocks that I can focus on this project and block them out in my Google Calendar. And it'll go ahead and do that for you, saving you a bit of time and also pre-preparing yourself for that. Another one could be add every birthday in my family in the contacts list. You could take a screenshot into my calendar and block it out as an all-day event. Another thing that I do, and I've done a separate video on this, is Todoist inbox triages. So if I'm on a walk, I'll ask it, what is in my Todoist inbox? And then I'll start talking through where to move things or whether things need to be deleted. And then I can also bring stuff into Google Calendar if it becomes an associated event with it too. There's another really good prompt that's helpful. If you've got a holiday coming up and some people may have booked things with you, you could ask it, for the next month that I'm on holiday, is there any events that have been booked for me that clashes with my holiday, and whether I need to look back and change those details. And one final one for holidays, you could say something like, build a packing list for this trip that's in my Google Calendar and get the weather forecast for it and make a Todoist list for me for tomorrow to do that at 3 p.m. And that's a great way to add some multi-step in there, because obviously you're bringing the weather in, you're also checking your Google Calendar where the location is, and then you'll be able to add the task to Todoist to give you some time back. I've also been finding this really helpful with checklists. I really am finding checklists very, very helpful for my daily routine. So I'm asking it if I've just done a process, I'm like, I want to do it again, I don't know, the kids' lunch boxes, and I don't want to forget things, then I can just get it to add loads of subtasks to a task and keep it in my inbox, or actually move it into the relevant checklist area in Todoist. So let's look at the key takeaways from this. Number one, MCPs are a great way to connect your chat app to becoming more of an assistant. I would recommend using the MCPs to connect up and make sure you're happy with the privacy policies. Number two, think about actions, not answers. Sometimes when you think about answers, that doesn't necessarily help things. If you've got Google Calendar and Todoist created, that gives you the advantage. So do look for MCPs for the app in Calendar and Notes and tasks that you use. Number three, if you're using an automation more routinely, check out looking at a skill. It'll help interface with the MCPs and produce better results. So thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully this helped you to unlock a little bit about using productivity tools and MCPs together. Please do check out Granola in the link in the description, and I will see you in a future video. Thank you very much, and see you soon.